morning, good evening, everyone. This is Luda Kopikina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News, where we rate AI developments essential, important, or optional. You can find the articles at gaiinsights.com/articles. And please follow and let us know what you think as we discuss these articles. Today, I have Adam, Pankaj, Paul, and John, our regular crew, and a wonderful guest, Vivek Mukhatia from Pfizer. So Vivek is an enthusiast. He tries everything, every new tool, and knows and applies it. So this is wonderful. So he has great insights. Okay, let's start with the first one. Pankaj, please.
Thanks, Luda. So the first one comes from CNBC, and it is titled Goldman Sachs Taps Anthropic's Claude to Automate Accounting and Compliance Roles.
Yes, this is not quite a case study, more of an announcement. What did you think about this, Adam?
Yeah, look, I'll say a little bit about what it is, but I will say it's important probably just because CNBC is high profile. Certainly Goldman Sachs and Anthropic both being in the news in a story together is a bit of a big deal. That being said, the announcement is really that Goldman Sachs is in the quote unquote early stages of developing agents based on Claude's models. So as excited as I was to hear the news, if they actually came out and said, we've used it, here's the impact, and it were like a case study, this would be essential. That being said, it's probably important to understand that at these kind of levels in such significantly regulated markets, Anthropic is making waves, right?
Okay.
So important for me.
Important from Adam. What did you think, Vivek?
Yeah, I was between optional and important. I think there was no specific outcome measure that they described, and this is where this lacked. But from an AI leader's perspective, there are a couple interesting trends to follow. That Claude is now, deploying forward engineers within these large organizations and kind of bridging that fluency gap that exists within these organizations. That's what I sort of took out of this. And then there's the ability to develop digital coworkers. I'm not sure if this is like allowing them full access, but it's another trend that Anthropic and Claude are making further gains in the enterprise market. So if the AI leader doesn't know that, then I would lean towards an important.
But the article didn't really focus on that, right? They just discussed it a little bit. What did you think, John?
Yeah, I was between important and essential. I agree it's a weak article, which is too bad because I think Goldman's been doing a lot of interesting stuff. They built that platform. Their CIO has been very aggressive in the creation of GSI AI, which is their core platform. And then I'm not surprised to see them working with Anthropic because they're willing to buy in technology talent to give them an edge. So I'd give it an important, but it's really a shame they haven't put more, statistics or how they did it or whatever.
Yeah, I was more leaning to optional. Paul, what did you think?
Yeah, so let me stir up the thing. Let me make the case for essential. So John and I don't want to use the company name. John and I were on a call with a major financial services firm last week, and they are not rolling out Copilot, Luda. They have millions of already spent. They are not rolling it out. We are doing a lot of Gen AI 201 training with major financial firms like Oaktree and Brookfield. They're rolling out ChatGPT, but they were not aware of how well Anthropic's doing on Excel. I've got 3 other CFOs I'm talking with. None of them are even aware that Excel is doing this. So I think the fact that Goldman is automating a task with Anthropic and not using, or maybe in parallel using Microsoft, is material for financial services firms and CFOs. So I really want Claude on the radar screens of AI leaders and CFOs. So I rated it essential.
Interesting. You've been converted. We've been trying to convince you that Claude is worth over time. Claude is worth attention, and I think you got it.
No, wait, but Claude, but it's a specialist tool. It's a tool for your power users. So if you have 5,000 employees, I'm certainly not recommending all 5,000 employees get Copilot and ChatGPT and Claude, but I do recommend that companies consider for their coders looking at Claude Code. Claude Co-work for their super enthusiasts, and for the power users of Excel, at least start testing today, Claude Teams in a secure environment so they can not have data trained on it. And amazing technology and how far they are ahead of. I mean, I was doing financial modeling this weekend here, and what I could do in Claude was way ahead of Google, Gemini, and OpenAI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
I think what's interesting underneath this, I mean, if you look, the number of people can code software in the, we've got about 160 to 170 million workers, and we've got somewhere between, 1.5 million to 2.5 million people in how to code software. I think what Claude is doing is that they're opening the door to, the holy grail. It's been around forever, which is end user, software creation, right? And so if that number doubles, I think what we're going to see is that number should double to, 5 million or 10 million. I mean, and if that happens, we have a very different economy, and so I think this is a path along that.
Well, the unfortunate thing is the article still doesn't really talk about it. Adam, Vivek, were you convinced to go essential?
I could be. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Ankash, last word.
Important for me, Luda. I think I agree with Paul's point of view, but the article doesn't give that much detail. So for that reason, important.
Okay. We're going important, not essential, but noted the potential impact. Okay, let's proceed to the next one.
Okay, the next one comes from Cursor, and it is titled Towards Self-Driving Code Bases.
Yes, Vivek, what was your thinking here?
Yeah, so let me go through the little bit of what they've done. So Cursor built sort of this large-scale multi-agent harness designed to let thousands of autonomous coding agents work on a single code base for extremely long period of time, right? So I think we're starting to see this emerging of long horizon tasks and how they can improve a variety of different functions, but it starts with software development. So if you're a software developer, this is an important article. Again, talks about how all of these IDEs are incorporating multiple agents. John just talked about what happens when we go from 1 million coders to 5 million coders. But now imagine these 5 million coders have another million coders working for them. So what they saw at peak rates, they had about 1,000 commits per hour and about 10 million tool calls over a period of 1 week, which was predominantly done autonomously without the need of any human intervention. So it's, again, we're starting to see a future where we are letting human-driven implementation and humans become sort of the managers. And Satya Nadella said this at Davos, right? Manager of infinite minds. This is where I think this is some early signals, but I'm still important because this is very early stage. Mostly in the software developer domain, not sort of scaled to other functions in the enterprises yet.
Okay. What did you think, Adam?
Vivek makes some good points. I remain unconvinced to move above optional. I think as important as it is, it's important research. And it's just too far from something that a busy Gen AI leader could really do anything applicable or practical with at this point.
Okay. So Adam on the optional side. John?
Yeah, I was leaning optional. At the same time, this whole notion of self-directed code, self-improving code, and coming from Cursor, the hottest, startup in history, basically from 0 to 100 million in sales. That might persuade me to put it into the important camp. So I'm on the fence.
Okay. Let's see. Ankash.
I was optional on this one, Luda. I think they have laid it out really well. But right now, for an AI reader, I think who is struggling between deciding between Claude Code or ChatGPT, this is not that important. So for that reason, I think optional.
Yeah, this was more into the depth of the technology. All right. Paul, last word.
Yeah, definitely optional, but I want to give a kudos for the title. I really love the title. And in my little mammal brain, the analogous situation with autonomous vehicles are becoming more and more similar, right? I used to drive the car myself. Then I went to Uber that they were driving it, but I was directing it to do. And then I go to Waymo where there's no driver here. So there's still, human that's directing the task, but the actual movement of who's actually driving the car went from me to human agent to.
But Paul, we aren't even directing the task. We're just giving them our destination.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the end goal. Yeah, exactly.
He says, "Oh, there's traffic. I'm going to go this way." You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we aren't even telling them how to get it done anymore.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, optional it is. Let's proceed to the next one. Pankaj.
Okay, the next one comes from Waymo, and it talks about the Waymo world model, which is built on Google DeepMind Genie 3.
Speaking
Yeah,
of,
pretty stunning. Pankaj, what did you think about this one?
So Luda, this one talks about how Waymo has used Genie 3 to develop a Waymo world model. So in essence, the Waymo driver, it has traveled around 200 million miles fully autonomously in the real world. And they claim that it has done billions of these miles in the virtual world using Genie 3. And this has helped them develop a lot of edge cases, which is not possible in the real world, and it has helped them improve navigation both through the camera modeling that they are using and the lidar modeling that they are using. While from an announcement perspective, this is optional because this is related to just driving. I was thinking about this more as a case study where Waymo has developed something on top of Genie 3, and how other industries such as oil drilling and exploration, mining, and a lot of other industries where these edge cases happen and they are difficult to understand or difficult to build out through your traditional scenario building tools. This can be a very useful example for those industries to use Genie 3 or these world models to develop these scenarios and train their models on top of that to have better performance. So I was between important and optional for that reason.
Okay.
got to choose one, Pankaj. You can't sit on the fence.
Well, it might help somebody, other people to think about
Which
it.
way would you go if you had to choose?
I would go important, Adam.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam.
Vivek, what did you think?
No, I mean, Ankaj did a fantastic job at reviewing this. This is really, really cool, and I know how to simulate these edge cases. But from an AI leader's perspective, this is very early. You know, it highlights Google's and DeepMind's sort of expertise, continuous expertise in this area, but overall optional for myself.
Okay, optional from Vivek. What did you think, John?
Yeah, I was between important and essential. I think there's two really important things here. One is that the effect of real world models, and Paul, at Davos, you said this is a really big deal, especially Jan LeCun and so forth. I think that the real world model stuff, people say digital twin, but that doesn't really even, begin to explain how powerful these things can be. And so I think Waymo has made a better bet. Tesla full self-driving only uses cameras, and these guys use cameras and lidars and hyper specific maps and so forth, and that's why they can get to level 4, fully autonomous self-driving, whereas FSD has really only achieved level 2 and occasionally level 3. So I think that's important for everybody to understand that world model's out there, and you're probably gonna have to pay Google for it, but I think it's going to be as powerful. I think they're trying to build in the physical world what they built in the symbol world of, basically creating the world's best model that other people are then going to have to tap into to do things. And then I think there's a really interesting race between Tesla and Waymo. My money's on Waymo for a number of reasons, and I think that part of what Elon Musk is trying to do right now with his I bet he tries to merge Tesla in with X and with SpaceX, claiming that it's a data source. And I think that's just a financial move to save an overpriced stock. But anyway, I think this is a hugely important area, both for logistics and driving, but also for the real world model.
Yeah, so, I think the real world models will actually in 26 we'll see more like what Pankaj said in different industries where
who's even close to Google on this? I mean, OpenAI is nowhere, Anthropic's nowhere on this stuff. I mean, Google, I think people need to understand that this is if the real world model is going to be part of your business, and that's going to be a part of a lot of businesses, you're going to have to deal with Google. That's my prediction.
Yeah, think about drilling, right? Mines,
Everything.
stuff like that.
Drilling, logistics, security, flights,
Supply chain.
landscaping. I mean, the regulatory compliance. I mean, and they've got a business model now with Waymo, where I think they're unlike Tesla. Tesla has to get, the humanoid robots, Optimus, into millions of homes before their economics work. Because they're getting crushed by the Chinese on the core business. So who else is going to do this? I think nobody's out there doing it. Maybe the DoD is doing it. I don't think so. Department of Defense, but Department of War, the DOW. Anyway.
Right. I think you're right. Google can stake this space completely. All right.
They're doing
it. Adam, where were you?
I was actually initially optional, and I'll say why, but I landed on important after listening to John and Ankush primarily about the potential here. And I thought optional actually because in many ways it's a fairly straightforward use case that we've heard for quite a long time about using world models to help train robots in simulations, which is basically what this is an example of. And they haven't done anything really innovative. It's just that the world models are getting better, and it's Waymo and Google. And that's what makes it kind of a bigger deal. Yeah. But I think that they make a good point. And I think John, being in Davos as well, probably got a good sense of this, which is that as obvious as it may seem to me and to many of us who've been discussing it for a while, a lot of people out there are just starting to realize like the almost limitless potential of when we start allowing AI to effectively train itself in world simulators. So the vast potential of that is definitely getting spotlighted by this article. I wouldn't say essential, but an important one.
Okay, we're going important. Anything to add, Paul?
Definitely important in my view. I think just essential. One of the roles I see AI leaders helping their executives understand how the world is changing. We know that showing videos is really an effective way. So the one we show a lot is the guy who's holding up the Gemini, looking at the car, changing the oil, going to the store. Really, really powerful. Executives being in a Waymo is equally. Waymo just raised $16 billion. They're going to 30 other cities here. And I think for people to understand that the future is here, getting your executives actually taking and viscerally understanding that model is really important here. And I think to John's point, if you're at all looking at these world models for parts of your business here, you need to start tracking it because they're going to be becoming real in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, totally.
And we'll go faster than the other ones, Luda, I know. But the other thing that's important here is they have a design philosophy which they're willing to get super specific on a city. So they build it around the quality of their data in Phoenix, in San Francisco. And I think that design philosophy, I think that's where the market is right now. And we're going to see this in the ICONIQ thing later. I think the verticalization of the success of verticalization wrappers on models is an indication of the economic reality that knowledge is incredibly detailed and variegated in contexts. And those people who can do that balance correctly of how broad is my context and how accurate, that trade-off is at the center of performance this year, next year, and I would say the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
And then we have a business model underneath. And so that we're going from generalist to generalist plus specialist together.
Right. Yeah. And John, just to highlight that, take the same analogy over to simple agents, people being department level. You have a generic tool and you have a department specific context and data to get high veracity. Same thing at a city.
Right. Absolutely. And this is very different than the internet. The internet was very much about generalizing and making things standard. That's not what's going on here. It's more complicated.
So it's data access, data breadth, and then context localization into specific.
And feedback loop.
In feedback loop, yeah. All right. Let's accelerate, guys. Next one, Ankush, please.
The next one comes from NVIDIA, and it is a case study about how just scale chargeback document extraction using NVIDIA Nemotron parse.
Yeah, OCI is no more. What did you think about this, Adam?
So I was optional on this one as well. This is a use case literally almost 2 years ago. I was building something like this in Microsoft Azure, right? Just converting PDFs into JPEGs and passing them to an LLM for inference. And at that, probably that's the first real use case like this we've seen for Nemotron from NVIDIA. And I might have given it important to call that out, but even the, I guess the numbers in terms of before and after and the measurable impact, it wasn't, I guess, going from traditional OCR to using this LLM solution. They had 25% fewer manual corrections. I don't really know if that is a lot or a little. And then they just said the customer spent significantly less time. So there just wasn't enough there for me to really rate this as an important case study.
Okay. Vivek, what was your...
I'm with Adam. I like the way they formatted the case study. I do appreciate that, and it is a very easy one to read and with good graphics. But overall, I think that it's highlighting they're building end-to-end pipelines for AI incorporation. But this is a very common use case, so I'm in agreement with Adam.
Okay, Ankash?
Optional, Luda.
Okay, John and Paul? We're going optional. Okay, optional it is. Let's proceed. Ankash.
The next one comes from Anthropic, and it is a case study about how Figma transforms ideas into interactive software with Claude.
Yes. Vivek, what did you think about this one?
Yeah, I think it's in line with what we just talked on the first article. Figma is another company that has incorporated Claude within their software tool, and they done two core integrations, one within their Figma site so that any user can then just talk about components and modify them using Claude. And Claude, compared to some of the other AI tools that they've used, Figma has found that Claude has better outputs relative to those. And then Figma Make, which was their prototyping tool. So again, it's a very connected implementation, and highlights how the intelligence layer with the application layer now also starting to merge, and it goes both ways, right? Figma could just be a skill within Claude as well. So we'll see how this evolves. At this stage, I was kind of optional to leaning towards important, given Figma is such an important part of the workflow for designers.
Yeah, so a lot of people in the software industry, lots of people use Figma to do the requirements across cross-functional requirements and understanding of what in fact they want to build. So this is a great collaboration tool deployed a lot, right, with software developers. So, and that now it goes through into code. So it's pretty powerful. What did you think, Adam? Oh, you... yeah.
Sorry?
What did you think, Adam?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to recall why exactly. When I read it before, I was left unimpressed. It was too much like a product announcement. I think an AI leader who's trying to get the message. I mean, the fact that we rated Goldman Sachs article as an important was probably enough for me in terms of us trying to push that narrative today about sort of the presence of Claude in the enterprise solution. This one kind of does it, but in a less meaningful way, more just in terms of a product announcement than anything an AI leader could really get value from.
Okay, Ankash?
Optional for me as well, Luda. I think it lacks the details needed for an AI leader. And I think Figma has also partnered with Claude or Anthropic, where you can now use Figma inside of Claude. So I think somewhere the marketing employees should.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going optional. John? Agree?
I was going to give it important, but optional is fine.
Okay. Why important?
I think Figma plus automatic code generation is going to be a new paradigm, just like spreadsheets were, just like PowerPoint was, about how groups work together on complex activities and then create stuff. So, you go back in the history of automated software, there's a whole bunch of, drawing software, visualization software. Folks like Texas Instruments used to have this stuff, and then it was called uppercase and lowercase, which was the specification and the implementation. I think we're getting there now, 40 years later, and Figma is going to be one of those paradigms. So that's why I gave it important.
Yeah, I was on the important because of the design plus prototyping and an easy way of collaborating on this. But the article doesn't stress it. So, Paul, we're going optional, okay?
Great.
Yeah, optional. Optional it is. Let's proceed to the next one. Ankash, please.
Hey, the last one for today comes from ICONIQ, and it's their State of AI biannual snapshot.
Yeah, quite comprehensive. John, what did you think about this?
Yeah, this is a survey of over 300 providers of software. 50 to 54% of them are under $100 million. So this is really, high growth, smaller companies by and large. And what you see here is, an increased verticalization, which is very interesting. And those are, the companies that seem to be doing doing well. Back to, I'm sorry, what we're saying before. I mean, if you if you go, Ankash, to page 3, you can see the speed of growth of these companies. Pretty interesting. Over half of them are growing, really pretty quickly here, 20% or more per year. If you go down and you say, okay, where are they creating value? It's really about verticalization around the models. OpenAI continues to be the most widely used, but their Gemini's making inroads, as is Anthropic. I think that what's interesting is that they use different learning techniques as they scale. They tend to have more autonomy, a little bit more autonomy in terms of improving the model. As they begin to scale out to the organization. So I thought this was essential reading. It's got lots of useful things for the AI leader, the different activities, based on how these companies are shipping code or not, kind of where they are in the software development lifecycle. So I gave this an essential.
Yeah, there was some data about margins that are getting to the 50s in 26, and also the high growth companies spending 57% of R&D on AI compared to 38% on average. That's incredible. That's quite a big spend. Anything else that caught your attention, Vivek, in the report? It's 44.
Yeah. No, just one piece was just achieving, as you guys mentioned, 30 to 40%, but specifically around coding, content generation, and analytics is sort of leading the way, and it's a good back pocket article to move the needle in the organization if your organization is still behind. So I can recommend essential for this.
Adam?
Yeah, definitely an essential from me. The forwardability is tremendously high. I think there's going to be something relevant in there to take away for everyone. Probably for me, interestingly enough, it was buried deep in it, is right near the bottom. They get into these spotlights in terms of internal AI adoption for various types of organizations. The example use case is how they're executing the ROI gained, as well as some of like the top use cases. And even sort of some of the funding models around go-to-market for offerings. So whether you're a vendor or wherever you sit in the market, I think there's something you can take away from this.
Yeah. Okay. What did you think, Paul?
Yeah, definitely essential. I don't know this, guys. I know we reviewed their report, I think 6 months ago, and was very impressed with it, and it was essential here. I think for the AI leaders, it's important for them to have kind of areas they're watching, understand where the trends are going. And the software department, so coders is one. This is software companies. And I think both those groups, software developers and software companies, are predisposed to adopt this. And I think because of that, it's just incredible insight. For the time-starved leader, I'm with Adam. There's a lot of great graphics here. And it's a really effective way to kind of sort through and find maybe one or two that's really important for your organization. So essential.
If I may, real quick, apologies. I found the one I really loved. It was page 35, which is how are you measuring the impact of AI on internal productivity? And it shows now as compared to half a year ago. And both productivity gains and cost savings are up, but revenue uplift and customer retention have both almost doubled. So some really interesting data there.
Yeah, now they have 2 data points from the past and they are comparing. So this is more valuable than.
So you can see the growth. Yeah, the 2 points on the line.
Okay, we're going essential. Ankash, okay with that?
Yes, Luda.
And Luda, just forwardability here, and Adam mentioned, I've got 4 CEOs of software companies I'm give forward into this today. I mean, this is, if you're running a software company, you have to know about this report.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Paul, who these folks are? They're ICONIQ Capital, so it's a investor group. It's our friend Randy Bean works with them as well, and so anyway, they've got lots of investments in startup companies and really willing to invest in thought leadership and in terms of driving their investments forward.
Thank you, John. All right, let's get the scorecard and any announcements, Paul.
One, I'm lamenting Pat's Patriots just getting crushed in the Super Bowl. I'm down in Miami, so's John. I left Boston. We had 7 degrees and 18 inches of snow, and it is beautiful 70 degrees down here in Miami and everything else. So
make us more jealous, Paul. Make us more jealous.
Yeah. You want to make us all jealous. That's what you want to do. Okay, so today we have 1 essential, 2 importance, and the rest are optionals. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for contributing. Thanks, Vivek, for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, baby.
Nice.